In the days that followed, Nina presented her curriculum systematically, leading her student from room to room. At the onset, the Count had assumed that all their classes would be held on the hotel's lower levels, where its services were housed. But having visited the basement, the mailroom, the switchboard, and all the other nooks of the first floor, one afternoon they proceeded up the staircase to the suites. Now, admittedly, the exploration of private apartments represents something of a break with decorum, but Nina's interest in visiting the rooms was not thievery, nor was it snooping per se. It was the views. Each of the rooms of the Metropole offered an entirely different perspective, one that was shaped not only by altitude and orientation, but by season and time of day. Thus, if by chance one cared to watch the battalions marching toward Red Square on the 7th of November, one should go no further than room 322. But when one wished to drop snowballs on unsuspecting strollers, this was best accomplished from the deep-ledged windows of 405. Even room 244, a rather depressing little spot overlooking the alley behind the hotel, had its allure, for from there, if one leaned far enough out of the window, one could watch the fruit sellers gather at the kitchen door and catch the occasional apple tossed from below. But if one wished to watch the arrival of guests at the Bolshoi on a summer night, the best vantage point, without question, was the northwest window of 317. And so, on the 12th of July at 7 o'clock, as the Count was crossing the lobby, Nina caught his eye and gave him the signal. 2 minutes later, having joined her on the stairs, he was trailing her past rooms 313, 314, and 315 toward the door of his old suite. And when Nina turned the key and slipped inside, the Count dutifully followed, but with a palpable sense of foreboding. In a glance, the Count reacquainted himself with every inch of the room. The couch and chairs upholstered in red remained, as did the grandfather clock, and the large Chinese urns from Idle Hour. On the French coffee table, that had been supplied to replace his grandmother's, was a folded copy of Pravda, a silver service, and an unfinished cup of tea. "Quick!" she said again, as she padded across the room to the window at the northwest corner. Across Theatre Square, the Bolshoi was lit from portico to pediment. The Bolsheviks who, as usual, were dressed like the cast of La Bohème, were taking advantage of the warm night air by mingling among the columns. Suddenly, the lights in the lobby flickered. Scuffing out their cigarettes, the men took their ladies by the elbow. But just as the last of the attendees was disappearing through the doors, a taxi pulled to the curb, the door flung open, and a woman in red dashed up the stairs with the hem of her dress in her hands. Leaning forward, Nina cupped her palms against the glass and squinted. "If only I were there and she were here," she sighed. And there, thought the Count, was a suitable plaint for all mankind.